Hi everyone, this is a video I'm doing specifically for the University of Technology Female Student Association. I was invited as their keynote speaker at the university campus in Leh to celebrate the International Women's Day event on March 8th. Unfortunately, I won't be able to attend, so I'm basically doing this video instead, which will be played at the, if I'm not mistaken, the evening portion of the event on Friday, March 8th. Now, I'm going to assume that a good number of you know who I am and what I do because you followed my story before, but for those of you who don't know me, I work as a software engineer in the tech space here in PNG, and I currently run my own software company, which I started back in 2015 together with my father while I was still in high school. So my story is unconventional in the sense that I only finished year 10 and I decided to leave school to pursue my interest in software engineering. My father doesn't like me using the term dropping out because I didn't fail. I actually did well in school. I graduated as a dux of my school when I was attending Paradise Private High School back in 2014, and I did very well in my national exams. But I felt that conventional education was a path that if I had stuck to and pursued, it wouldn't have given me the space and the opportunity to really focus on the things that I was really passionate about and that I wanted to pursue long term. So I made the decision to leave school to pursue my interest in software engineering, and ever since 2015 I've been working out in the industry. So it's crazy to think about it because next year 2025 will be 10 years since I've been working in the industry. So it's been quite a whirlwind of a journey so far. So, for those of you ladies at university, you're going to graduate with degrees. If you're studying computer science, then you're going to graduate with a degree in computer science. So you've beat me to that end. I never went to college and I don't have a computer science degree, but I've managed to carve out a unique path that's built around the things that I value and I'm passionate about. And my hope really is that I can be a good example of what's possible if you learn how to set your mind to something that you're really passionate about and that you want to pursue. And if my story and my journey shows anything, it's that you're not always tied to the conventional path that society has set out for all of us. But I'm cautious when I go around and I give talks like this and I share my journey because I don't want kids and young people to have the grand idea that, oh, I need to drop out of school. Please don't. I valued education very early on and I was very serious about it. And so if circumstances were different in terms of if our educational system had accelerated pathways for students who were gifted or talented or who just performed at an accelerated pace, then I don't think I would have left school. But I felt that I was limited in the sense that I couldn't really advance in a lot of the things that I was really, excited and passionate about. So that's why I ultimately made the decision to leave school so that I could have the opportunity and the time and space to pursue those things independent of, a school system which was very rigid. Now, I thought a lot about what I should dedicate my talk around, and there's really a lot that we can talk about, to be honest. I could keep my talk focused on software engineering and computer science or entrepreneurship or personal development or working on developing your mind. But I feel that these are things that you can, go out there into the world and access on the internet and read about. But I know for a fact that regardless of what you choose to pursue in life, whether it's engineering or law or economics, there are foundational abilities and characteristics and habits that we must all develop if we're serious about succeeding in pursuing our dreams. And for us ladies, it's especially important that we build ourselves up from the inside out and hold ourselves to a high standard with a focus on building a life of independence and self-worth. I don't think there's much conversation around building a life like that, especially for our girls and our young women. And I can tell you from experience that there's truly nothing more rewarding than being a woman who's free, independent, strong-willed, and is able to look after herself. When you get to that level, your life, the decisions you make, and your future overall isn't tied to any one individual because you're dependent to them to some extent. And to me, that's real success. To me, that's a worthwhile life. As such, my talk is going to focus around 3 core ideas. Number 1, the mindset required to achieve anything worthwhile in life. Number 2, expanding your awareness of yourself and of reality. And number 3, prioritizing you. If you can take these core ideas to heart, think them over and let them ruminate in your mind and implement them, you'll be surprised at the amazing changes and results you're going to see in your life. So let's get into the first core idea, which is the mindset required to achieve a life of success. Now, I don't know how else to to start off this first idea, but to say that you have to be crazy about what it is that you want to do. We live in a world where people want to be successful. People want to break barriers and be like the heroes in society that they look up to. But yet they're not willing to give up the distractions that are hindering them from progressing towards their goals. And by that I mean they're not willing to give up drinking and partying. They're not willing to give up hanging around with the wrong crowd. And unfortunately, you simply can't have a life that's fulfilled whilst juggling a life of chaos and cluttered with so much distraction. You have to make a choice. And if that choice is to be great in life, regardless of what you choose to pursue, you must become single-minded with that goal and make a decision to commit to it today. And if that's not something you want for yourself, then that's completely okay as well. No one's forcing you to live according to a certain path. The best part about having this life is that we get to make our own choices, we get to make our own decisions, because once we reach adulthood and we go out into this great big world, then we're responsible for ourselves and we're responsible for where we end up in life. But if you choose not to pursue a path that's full of depth and meaning and substance, then you have to also come to the fact that I will never reach my potential, and I'm okay with that. You have to come to terms with that as well and accept that, because then you don't live with regret. You don't live feeling ashamed of yourself, but you're content that this is the path I've chosen and I'm happy to stick with it. So to drive this core idea home deeply, I want to give a personal example of my own experience. I never knew what it was like to escape from my father's house and go partying or drinking with my friends. I hardly spent my teenage years building my life around social media. And fortunately for my father, he never had to deal with boys at school. And I'll be honest in saying that I never really had a life outside of what I was focused on then, which was just my software engineering and focusing on building my company and building my skills. So I didn't really have any friends. I didn't have a social circle. I chose to stay away from those things because I was at a point in my life that I understood very clearly that I had to make certain important decisions so that I could steer my life in the right direction. Because if I didn't do that, I certainly wouldn't be where I am today. Now, do I think I missed out on life by not participating in all those stereotypical things that we're all raised to believe that somehow it's what we all should be doing as normal teenagers or as normal 20-something-year-olds? Absolutely not. In fact, I was far better off removing myself from all those distractions because it allowed me to then focus on what was important to me. Because that's really what happens when you declutter your life and when you remove all the unnecessary things that are just distractions. They're essentially there to eat away at your time and your energy and your attention. When you learn to rid your life of those things, suddenly your life begins to expand, time begins to expand, and you now have the space and the right place to then focus on what truly will make a difference in your life. And if you're in school now, your education is your number one priority. Nothing else outside of it should matter. But when you have all these distractions in place, suddenly they take up valuable space, valuable time that more important things like your education should. I don't think that if you asked anyone who wasted away their teenage years and in their early 20s and their 30s drinking and partying and jumping from one relationship to another and getting themselves caught up in all this messy stuff, I don't think if you ask them, can you give me one example of a good thing that came out of all those activities? I can assure you that they won't be able to give you one example. But if you ask someone like me on the other hand, what benefits I've gotten out of the kind of choices I made to stay away from all those distractions early on in my early teens, I can not only tell you one example, in fact, I can give you a whole list of amazing things I've experienced, incredible changes I've witnessed in my life. So what I want you to really remember here is that don't look at the life of other people around you, your friends, your family members, your relatives, people on the internet, and how they portray this, carefree life. Don't look at their lives and feel that you're missing out on anything, because living an intelligent life is really all about common sense. You don't need to be, a genius or a particularly smart person to be able to figure out what are the right things you need to do to get ahead in life. A lot of it is basic common sense through observation. And I've implemented that in my life because when I looked at my family members, when I looked at people close to me and I saw the kinds of decisions they made and where that led them to in their lives, it told me everything I needed to know. Life was a great teacher. It was teaching me through the experience of other people. And I chose to be intelligent in that sense and to learn from their mistakes rather than putting myself through all that pain and agony for no reason whatsoever. And then ending up 20 to 30 years into my life and realizing, what was it all for? I never got anything good out of it. So if you've made the decision to focus on your studies, your education, never feel that you're missing out on life because you're not out on the streets with majority of young people out there, or you're not in nightclubs partying with your friends, or you're not, sitting in a dark corner hiding from the school administration drinking. Never feel you're missing out on anything like that, because here's the thing: success takes a few years of planting to reap a lifetime of harvest. That's what success is. Failure and hardship, on the other hand, it gives people this false sense of success and freedom and accomplishment in the short term, but they end up creating a lifetime of pain and suffering for themselves, and you don't want to be in that category of people. You want to make the sacrifices now, and it'll only take a few short years, I promise you, so that you can enjoy the rest of your life. You can reap a lifetime of reward and truly get to a place where you experience life like many people don't. And it reminds me of what the motivational speaker Jim Rohn said. He said, we must all suffer from one of two pains: the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. So success, any kind of success, requires absolute deep focus and dedication. You have to be committed to a cause that has meaning to your life. And on top of that, you have to be able to safeguard and cocoon yourself from, the myriad of distractions that are out there in the world vying for your attention. If you can simply adopt this mindset, trust me, the universe will take you to incredible places. Now let's move on to the second core idea. Core idea number 2 is expanding your awareness of yourself and of reality. I'd like to share a few quotes from some incredible beings that have walked this planet before, to help bring to light the importance of why everyone should be focusing on expanding their awareness of themselves and of the world around them. Buddha said that the wind cannot overturn a mountain. Temptation cannot touch the man who is awake, strong, and humble, who masters his self and minds the law. Carl Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will control your life and you will call it fate. And Lao Tzu said, he who controls others may be powerful, but he who masters himself is mightier still. Now, all of these great minds are speaking about the power of self-awareness, of understanding who you are as a spiritual being having a human experience on this planet, and not the other way around. It is my firm belief that you cannot fool nor control an educated and enlightened man, because he has simply reached a state of consciousness where he's fully aware of his powers and his abilities, and of the simple fact that he can control and create his reality to his liking. I can tell you for a fact that almost everyone around you is asleep to their greatness. People spend 5 to 10 decades roaming this planet, never fully realizing and fulfilling their potential. And many unfortunately die with their music still in them. And you don't want to be that kind of person who lays on his or her deathbed regretting that you didn't do the things you were supposed to do. And until you learn to realize who you are as a spiritual being, until you learn to tap into the dormant potential of your limitless mind, you will never rise above the limitations that society, your culture, and the people around you place on you. I am who I am today, and I've been able to carve out this really amazing path that I get to experience because I know what my innate powers and capabilities are. I know what the mind can accomplish. I know that as a spiritual being having a human experience on this planet, I have spiritual powers that God the Source has gifted me, likewise as He has for you. And I've expanded my awareness to understand what those powers are and how I can use them to my advantage. That's why I can do the things I do. But it's not because I have some secret sauce, or it's not because I've got unlimited energy and time and motivation. It's simply because I understood what my capabilities are, and I'm able to align myself and my life to make sure that I can make use of those internal powers and capabilities to be able to pursue the things that I want to do. Now, what's the best way to develop your awareness and expand your mind? The answer is very simple. Read. 4 letters, 1 word. Read extensively. Replace social media, replace gaming, replace partying and going out with your friends unnecessarily. Replace that with reading. Because the more information you're able to come across and absorb, the more you're able to learn from other people, the more your mind starts to see the world in a different light, the more you get educated about interesting insights and ideas and concepts and what it takes to be successful and what you can do to get ahead. But you can't know how to do those things. You can't know how to structure your life so that you're able to pursue the things that are important to you if you're not educating yourself. Now, what you also want to do is you want to go beyond just reading and absorbing, and you want to start actively asking questions about different things you observe in life. You want to build the habit of asking deep questions, getting quiet, and carving out space and time in your life to deeply think about important things in life, and allow your mind to simmer all those deep questions so that it can provide you with new insights and new understanding. I pretty much spent my teenage years doing that. I read extensively about a wide range of topics with a big emphasis on spiritual development and raising your consciousness. I then spent time contemplating deep ideas, and I pondered about life, what my purpose is, where I came from, and where I'll be going to once my life on this planet is done. I started asking those big questions, and I allowed my mind to think deeply about them. And these two habits of reading extensively and learning to be a deep thinker helped me to mature very early on, to the point where I was talking about very big ideas as a 14, 15, 16-year-old, and I had many people around me who were just surprised and astonished that I could speak about those things. But it's not because I was born a genius, but it's simply because I placed more emphasis on developing and expanding my mind than I did on other things that my peers were more concerned about doing. And when I compare myself in that light, I never want to give the impression that I think that I'm above everyone else. No, I'm just using my example to demonstrate that I'm where I am today because of certain decisions I've made. And a lot of my peers are where they are now out there because of certain decisions they decided to make. And so life truly boils down to, the choices you're making and if they're responsible or not, and if they're going to help set you up for success in the future. So you have to be able to think ahead. You have to be able to identify what's best for you and focus on those things, regardless of what everyone else says around you. Now, moving on to our final core idea 3. The importance of prioritizing you. No one is responsible for your life but yourself, period. This is a very important rule that you must learn to live by if you're going to succeed early on. When you delegate that responsibility to others, unfortunately, like what majority of people do, which could come in various forms. You blaming your parents about stuff they didn't do in the past, how they didn't raise you properly, you blaming God for the bad circumstances in your life. All those behaviors that remove the responsibility to take care of your own life, they only end up destroying you in the end. It's like that old saying, don't give a man a fish, teach him how to fish. It's like that. If you never learn to fish, you'll never be able to survive on your own. You'll always be dependent on other people. You'll always be sitting around complaining and whining and waiting for other people to come around and save you, which I hate to tell you is never going to happen. And that mindset is destructive, and it will only end in disaster for you. Because the important thing to remember is that you don't owe anyone anything, and no one, frankly, owes you anything in return. So you shouldn't expect as much as you expect from other people when it comes to how you're going to get your life in order than the expectation you have of yourself on what you can do for you. This means that you do not sacrifice your life, your goals, your dreams, and your well-being for the sake of someone else's success and happiness. And it also means that you shouldn't expect other people to do the same thing for you. At the end of the day, we are all responsible for ourselves. And where we end up in life and what we get to do is dependent on the choices that we make today. That's all that matters. Not what's happened in the past, not what's going to happen in the future. There's this nice saying that I heard from somewhere, I can't remember exactly, but it says that you're here today because of the decisions you made in the past. And where you're going to end up in the future rests on the decisions you get to make today. So sure, you may have a horrible past. All of those things that happened in the past have led to where you are today. But there's still a new future waiting for you. But it's dependent on the choices you get to make today. And if you're still living in the past and blaming and relieving yourself of the responsibility to take charge of your life, then unfortunately, the years are going to come and go, and nothing in your life is going to change. I've seen that so many of us, and I'm guilty of this too at some point in my life. We try to go out of our way to be available for others. We try to accommodate others in our lives for the fear that we're going to miss out on things, or that people will perceive us differently, or people are not going to like us. And in the midst of trying to be available for everyone, we lose ourselves. We forget about ourselves. And you're really no good to anyone if you end up burnt out and sick and broke and unsuccessful and roaming around in the streets. So nothing else should matter but your development, especially when you're this young, when you've just passed your late teens and you're in your early 20s, and when you don't have any responsibilities yet. And the theme for this year's International Women's Day is invest in women, inspire inclusion. But you cannot expect other people to invest in you, to take that kind of interest in you, if you don't take the necessary steps to invest in yourself first. So we must all start with ourselves first. We must learn to take care of ourselves. We must learn to prioritize ourselves and to focus on what's important to us. Because there's absolutely nothing wrong with putting your dreams and your ambitions. In fact, the people around you, your family, your friends, the people you want to help, they're better off when you're successful, when you prioritize your dreams and when you go after the things you want to do and when you achieve great success. So what I want you to remember is that you're better able to help everyone around you when you're empowered, when you're independent and successful. But that can only happen when you prioritize yourself and you learn to work on the things that matter to you as a top priority. Everything in life has seasons. I don't understand why people rush it. When you rush things in life, that's when you create unnecessary problems for yourself. So you must learn to prioritize what's important to you, which at the end of the day is you. And you learn to diligently work through the different areas of your life that you need to be focusing on as you mature in the years ahead. Right now, for you ladies at university, it's not your time to be playing mommy and daddy in school. It's not your time to be drinking and partying and having a jolly good time. Your parents didn't send you to university to do those things. And I don't like the idea that many young people buy into, which is that, I'll never get to be this young again, so let me enjoy my time. Your version of enjoying your time is smoking your lungs out and drinking your kidneys dry. How is that enjoyment at all? I can never understand that logic. There are better ways to truly, truly experience life. And you'll never find true happiness, true success, true freedom, true internal fulfillment from those things out there. Rather, the things that will fill you with joy are things of depth, are things of meaning, of substance. And the things that give you deep satisfaction and true meaning in life are the big goals that we want to pursue that are difficult to do but are necessary for our growth, for our development, for our prosperity. So you have all the time in the world later on. Once you've established yourself and you're successful and you've built a life that you can be proud of, then you can focus on other things that can come after that. To give you a concrete example about how I apply this to my life, at this stage of my life, I'm in my mid-20s now, I'm 25. My focus is on building my company, solidifying my software engineering skills so that I can perform at the top 1% of software engineers in the world, and pursuing my master's and my PhD. So over the next 10 years, that is solely what my focus is going to be on. I'm not focused on meeting a man and marrying him and having children. Those things will happen when I'm likely in my early to mid 30s. But right now, it's not the season for that, because number one, I'm not fully established. I haven't built a life that I can be proud of, a life of prosperity and success and a life of meaning that will enable me to then pursue even bigger things like starting a family and settling down. So my encouragement to you ladies is everything has a time for itself, everything has a season. Never feel like you're missing out on anything because you don't get to do what majority of other young people out there are doing. You have to determine what's important to you. Learn to prioritize the priorities. There's so many things in our lives that we're raised to think that they're important, but in fact they're not. And we have to learn to be able to sift through all those, so-called important things, to be able to really drill down on what truly matters to us. And these are the few things, very few things that will move the needle forward for us in terms of how we can build successful careers, how we can start the business of our dreams, how we can go live in another country and work there, whatever your dreams may be. But when you place too much priority and emphasis on the unimportant things, at the end of the day, you're only hurting yourself. You're robbing yourself of the opportunity to lay a strong foundation for your future. And this is not to scare you, but it's to emphasize why it's important to start early now. Because by the time you get to your mid-30s, your adult behavior and your habits are hardwired. And so it'll be very difficult to change a lot of your bad habits when you get to that stage of your life. So while your mind is still sort of forming itself and the important regions of your brain are slowly coming to a close in terms of their development, you want to be able to set the right habits now, build the right behaviors, adopt the right mindset. You'll thank yourself in a few years' time, trust me. But we all have a set period where we need to solidify certain behaviors that will determine our success in the future. And if you don't start now, it's going to be a lot difficult to do that in 5, 10, 15 years down the line. So I've said a lot, and I think I'll stop here because I don't want the video to be too long that it bores all of you. But I hope the insights I've shared and my 2 cents of life and what I've been able to experience leaves you to take something back to your lives to ponder and think over. And my hope is that it'll cause you to just pause and think about, where am I now and where am I going? How have I built my life to ensure that I can succeed at the things that I want to do? Above all, if there's one thing you can take from this video, is that the mind is capable of so much. There's no limit to it apart from the limits that you put to it. And for me, I was lucky that I grew up in an environment that never emphasized my gender, in that my father never told me that, oh, you're a girl, so you can't do what boys do. Coupled with that, with the kind of education I went through and the mentorship I received, all those things helped to solidify my outlook on the world, that I can do anything I want to do. And I want you to also remember that If you tell yourself that you can't do something, you're absolutely right. If you tell yourself that you can do something, you're absolutely right too. So the mind works on intention, on focus. Wherever attention goes, energy flows. So you have to be very mindful with the things that you're spending your time on. And no matter what you want to do, focus. Focus is at the heart of living a successful life. If you cannot focus on a deep, important thing that you want to pursue in life, you'll never be able to achieve it. There's no other way around it. The universe rewards those who commit to something. So I will end there and say no more. I wish you all a happy International Women's Day and 2024 celebrations, and wish you all the very best in your studies and your future plans in terms of what you intend to pursue. Thank you very much for having me a part of your celebrations this year. It's really been a pleasure spending time with you all. Take care.